All right, let's welcome Derek Stevens, everyone.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
We're going to chat for a few minutes, and then we're going to actually open it up to Q&A. If anyone was ever curious what it's like to, even build a hotel, casino hotel here in Vegas and running them, this is the man to ask. So Derek, why don't you introduce yourself, a little bit about your history, how you got into here, and don't forget to mention when and how the Bitcoin ATM came about here at the D.
I'm originally from the Detroit, Michigan area, and I progressively.
Why we're in the Detroit ballroom, huh?
Well, yeah. As you can see with the D, we have all of our ballrooms and meeting space named after cities in Michigan. I started moving out here progressively in 2006. Now I'd been coming to Vegas for, I would say about 15 years before that for work or for pleasure. And 2006, I bought the Golden Gate, so just down the street. And in this business, when you buy something, you don't actually get to do anything with it until you get licensed. So my licensing took almost 18 months, so I got licensed in March of '08. And then at that point in time, I started moving out here progressively, little by little. I still had kids in grade school and high school at that time, so I was back in Michigan quite a bit. But over the course of the next few years, I ended up spending a little bit more time out here, and I've been now full time in Vegas for I would say 10, 12 years or so. After purchasing the Golden Gate, I had been in negotiation to try to buy another casino for a little while, and I really liked downtown Las Vegas. So I had an opportunity to reach agreement to buy this property, which at that time was called Fitzgerald's. And we eventually got to the point where we were able to get the deal done at the beginning of 2011. And then in the casino business, it's not as if you get a license. It's not as if like a driver's license where once you get one, you're good everywhere you go. Every license is affixed to a property. So I had to get relicensed for this property. And that once you have done it once, it doesn't take as long the second and third time. So I was licensed in October of 2011 for this property. We spent some time renovating. And in March of 2012, we had a night where we gave out T-shirts to everybody that said, "I got drunk at Fitzgerald's, but I woke up at the D," because we transferred our whole brand over overnight one night, and then that was the beginning of the D Las Vegas. So we kind of brought a little bit of a different vibe with a little louder music and a lot more TVs and things like that to this property. And then we had a lot of fun kind of operating and kind of growing the D here for the last 10, 12 years. It was a couple years into the D is when the opportunity came up to bring a Bitcoin ATM in. And I would say, 10 years ago, the Gaming Control Board was obviously very, very reluctant. This was prior to the government declaring that people weren't sure, is this a currency or what was going to happen. So there was a lot of reluctance, and I think maybe the fact that we were a smaller, privately held company, and we went to the Gaming Control Board and we said, hey, we would like to bring this Bitcoin ATM in. They listened to us and they were intrigued and they had a lot of questions. I think some of the big companies, like Caesars at the time or MGM, were a bit more reluctant to move forward with this. But we were a smaller company, and I had always asked, well, why not? So the Gaming Control Board gave us the ability to bring a Bitcoin ATM in. They allowed us to accept Bitcoin in various locations, such as our restaurants, our gift shop, our hotel, for meeting space. And they wanted to monitor transactions just to see how things were going. And they had a very positive perspective on it. And really, ever since then, I've never really had many questions about it. I would say there's a couple of funny times when I had the gaming control board here, and they looked at the Bitcoin ATM, and they had their tech people, they had their administrators, they had the control board members, and they had a lot of interest in opening up the machine because it was almost as if
they're looking for the Bitcoins.
I don't know. It was almost as if you remember that one day when Geraldo Rivera had to open up that safe and wanted to see what was inside. Everybody wanted to see what was inside this thing, so that was kind of fun. But effectively bringing Bitcoin in was great for us. We got some publicity. I got to meet you. I got to meet a lot of the people you brought out, and Bitcoin to Vegas has been nice for our properties.
Yeah, no, it's great. And there was a conference in this room back in 2015. Everyone was about to start booing. So there was an event here in 2015. It was back then. It was early 2015. It was more of a Bitcoin-ish event. Even Nick Szabo was one of the speakers. But at that event, over a stream, was the very first public appearance of Craig Wright pretending to be Satoshi that happened right here in this room as well. So this room has a long history, and we had to, come back here and make sure that won't happen again. So this becomes a Bitcoin-only conference. A quick word on the Circa. This was like the first construction downtown. That's the new hotel. And just a few words on that, and then we might, then I'll have a few questions, and then we'll open it up.
Yeah, so, Circa's up now, but you think about how much time it takes to build something.
You were building it during the pandemic, too.
Right. Well, my first investment into what's that city block that Circa sits on was in August of 2015. We were designing during 2016 and 2017, and we effectively began setting up the property for a build in 2018, and then we built in 2019 and 2020. We were planning on opening around New Year's of 2020, but then in March of 2020, obviously pandemic hit. Initially, obviously everyone at that time is pretty scared about what's going on, what's going to happen with the business. I got asked by a number of people, well, are you going to put the project on hold? And, that we were I guess, we were maybe 7 months pregnant with this project. It's, you don't put the project on hold. Other projects got canceled, but we were down the path pretty well. So what we kind of took a different approach. The governor at that time in the state of Nevada, he came from the trade unions, and he made a declaration which was very different than in other states. He declared that construction was a protected industry in the state of Nevada. So unlike in the state of New York, where all construction projects had to cease, in Nevada, construction projects were one of the only things that was allowed to continue on. So then what happened was our builders came up with a great idea saying, we're building this, effectively 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we're doing that because of the sound problems. Now, there's nobody on the streets. There's no hotel rooms that we're going to disrupt. So we went to 24-hour construction, and we were able to open in October of 2020. So we opened about 10 weeks earlier. Over the long term, you'd say maybe 10 weeks doesn't make that much of a difference. But, I've never been one that has had to borrow this type of money. And, when you're thinking about, the interest rate on what you're paying, it's pretty crazy to think that our interest that we were paying was in excess of $1 million a week. It was pretty meaningful that we were able to open up a little bit early. What was also pretty cool in Vegas, when we opened, there were still a lot of casinos that had not reopened. So we were able to employ an additional, effectively 3,000 people when people were out of work. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I didn't know about that. That's really cool. I was there for the grand opening. It was really, really cool when you guys were showing the circle around. And we're looking, hopefully one day we'll move this event over to the Circa. It is by far the nicest. It's brand new, so it has to be the nicest hotel in this area on Fremont. So any future plans for Bitcoin? I mean, you do accept it for room payments and other payments, but have you had any talks, maybe a slot machine denominated in Bitcoin or Satoshi? We do a poker tournament denominated in Bitcoin, and we just use a private venue. You want to challenge the commission one more time? Hey, guys, ATM was okay. Any chance of a slot machine? And then maybe, take it from there.
I would tell you that one of the reasons why I like to come here to this conference, first is really to tell everybody thank you for coming to our property and spending your time here. But for me, I think like everyone else, I'm here to learn. If there are ideas that you have or the audience has this week, I'll give up my business card to anyone that wants one. But throw the ideas my way. I could tell you that maybe when I first met you, I was still pretty new in the industry, but now I've been around a little bit longer. I would say our relationship with the Gaming Control Board is great, and they actually push me to provide them with more ideas. So if a Bitcoin poker tournament is on the list, we just have to go through some details and make a presentation. I'm certainly not saying that I can get something approved because they're going to have a lot of questions, but I can certainly get a forum and see what we could do. I want to support cryptocurrency. I want to support Bitcoin. I want to support all of you. So for me, I'm here really to tell everybody I want to learn from you. So if you've got ideas and thoughts, please convey them. Please write me an email because I'd like to do whatever I can to support this group.
No, that'd be awesome. Thank you. And if anyone works in that kind of tech and can put together a plan, again, same thing. A Bitcoin-denominated poker tournament is great. We do that already. If there is ever a Bitcoin-denominated slot machine with unconfiscatable branding on it would be great. So any designers want to put that together, that'd be awesome because we do have amazing branding. All right. On this note,
let me just jump in here on something like this. As you say, one of the issues that gaming always brings up is a variable price prize. If someone hits a jackpot, they have to get a W2G, and it's a defined dollar amount. Somebody hits for 10,000. That's kind of how that works. But there are variable valued jackpots that are out there, particularly when you see some of these jackpots that are in the form of a silver bar or a gold bar or something like that. The reason I bring that up is that that's opened the door to variable priced payouts, which I think is the path that we would want to take.
Oh, yeah.
With a jackpot that could be a Bitcoin or something along those lines.
That's a great idea because you don't have to put Bitcoins or Satoshis in to gamble. You're getting paid out in fiat. But the grand prize, if you hit that magic sevens or whatever the magic final jackpot is, that number is denominated in Satoshis, which is the lowest unit of Bitcoin, which could also tick up over time. So that price is like a gold bar. Yeah, that would be a good start.
So I think from a gaming control board's perspective, that would probably be the methodology that we would want to present first, and I think they'd be most open to it, just to let everybody know.
Awesome. Let's open up the questions. Do we have anyone with a microphone? Zezo?
Hey, Derek. It's really cool, everything that you've done with Bitcoin and trailblazing it for casino support over the years. We've paid up here and had a good time, and the ATMs. But I was just wanting to know, for a safety perspective, when you think about the cage, okay, and you're setting a precedent because in the casino and the gaming world, Bitcoin is so useful. It's so powerful. You think of a young single girl, she just won $4,000 or $5,000. She's at the cage. She's got to walk out with that purse. And it just makes so much sense in my head with a company like Azteca, or you could build something yourself, to just give that option right there at the cage, right? Do you want to walk out with this $11,000? Do you want to send it to your hardware wallet at home? Are you familiar with Bitcoin? By the way, you put a 5% premium on that, whatever you do. You know, it's revenue generating, and it really sets the bar for gaming moving forward. And it just, I know that you got to deal with the board, and maybe that they'd hate that idea, but to me that seems like such a logical, perfect move, is to put that at the cage and allow people to leave with it.
I actually like that idea a lot. That would be an idea I would say, let's put this into this email of these various ideas. Right now, if we have someone that wins a big amount, whether it's on table games or on a slot jackpot or on a big sports bet. Right now, people have a few different options. They have the ability to go to the cage and get cash. They have the ability to go to the cage, leave it on deposit. They've got the ability to go to the cage and take it out in chips. They've got the ability to go to the cage and get a check. And they've got the ability to go to the cage, leave it there, and get a wire to their bank account. I think the additional option would be very valuable, particularly as more time goes by. So I like that. I like that. I like that thought a lot. And I'll also tell you why I like the thought a lot is because I would love if we would be able to accept incoming Bitcoin to our cage, just like we accept incoming wires. When someone's coming into town, oftentimes. For some of the bigger players, you know, you may have someone coming in that wants 6 suites over a premium weekend, and let's say the suites are going off for more than $1,000 a night, and they want them for 5 nights and 6 suites, and they want all types of catered dinners, and then they want gambling money. It's a pretty regular occurrence. Like on a day like today, we will get many 100,000 to sometimes $500,000 or $1 million of wires that come in. I've always wanted to accept Bitcoin in the cage, and we haven't been able to do that. I think the idea you just presented, maybe we're able to marry that together in a way that we say that this is some good business for Las Vegas, and I'd like to marry these couple thoughts together and make that presentation.
Awesome. Thank you. Any more questions? Yep, right there in the back.
You actually work for one of your gaming suppliers, and I'll tell you that the compliance of the company is afraid of Bitcoin. If you were to reach out and say, we want a gaming device, a progressive table, that the price is dictated in Bitcoin, they would probably make that for you. But right now, compliance is just afraid to even try.
Oh, I completely agree with you. If we were to do something, we would not be at a stage where we would be reaching out to Aristocrat or IGT or anything else like that. This would have to be something that we would work on. You got to start at the top. We'd have to work through the Nevada Gaming Control Board. We'd have to work through with them, and we'd have to walk hand in hand as we go to a vendor to help create something. Because I think most gaming suppliers would be reluctant to spend the time, the money, and the effort to try to develop something when they think something is less than likely to come to fruition. But if we worked something out with the Gaming Control Board and they endorsed it, and we said, okay, we commit that we're going to buy 6 of these machines, I think any one of the gaming operators would jump on working with us on something like that. The key thing is we have to present something that the Gaming Control Board thinks is useful, and go from there. But I'm ready to go on that.
Now, what about Lightning for my Players Club points? Being able to do it that way.
Again, I think as time goes by, all of these ideas have a higher probability of getting accepted. Frankly, I think things have become more regular, and I think a lot of these ideas all make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, just got to make sure you're first, right? You don't want another hotel beating you to this.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a little bit of our advantage. I mean, like, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of our advantages was the fact that we were smaller. So we kind of felt that when we talked about it, why would we not bring a Bitcoin ATM in? And I couldn't get anyone to give me a good answer. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. I think in some of the bigger publicly traded companies, there's probably some other SEC related issues and other concerns that they may have that we don't necessarily have. So we like to be the leader in this, and your ideas help us.
All right, awesome. Any other questions? If not, we got one more, and then we'll let Derek. He'll have a few more minutes to just hang out if you want to ask him something privately. All right, we'll have two quick ones, and then you'll have a few minutes to just walk around the floor.
It's a much less exciting question, but I'm really curious if there's a story behind the mechanical horses. They're just so cool.
Yeah, here's the story. When I first came to Vegas, and I'm not going to say the year, but you can rest assured I wasn't quite 21 at the time. I stayed at a hotel, the very first hotel I ever stayed at in Vegas, and I think the hotel room rate was like $16. It was a big-time hotel, too. It was called the Dunes Hotel, and they had a Sigma Derby over there, and that's where I had my very first shrimp cocktail, and I had that with their very first, the Dunes Las Vegas French dip sandwich, and I got a bunch of quarters, and I played Sigma Derby, and that was the first gambling I ever did. So I've always had that as a little bit of fondness in my heart. And then what happened was, over the decades, all the casinos got rid of this game, and I thought, oh man, that game was fun as hell. Why can't we figure out how to get one back? So we went out and we purchased one. It had been decommissioned, so we had to rebuild it, and then we had to go to the gaming control board to get it reauthorized as a gaming device. And then when we did that, I believe MGM and the D were the last two casinos that had Sigma Derby. I know MGM's gotten rid of theirs, so I think we're the last one here. So, like I tell everybody, it's a fun game. It's a slot machine, but it's a community game. It's a great game to play with 10 of your friends and drink and have a little bit of fun. I've also told people that there's a long history with Sigma Derby, that a lot of people used to come into Vegas and the very first bet they would make would be on a Sigma Derby, and that set them up for good luck for the rest of their trip.
Nice. All right, one last question. Right there.
Hey, Derek, thanks for being here today. We see a lot of companies today that are pro-Bitcoin, that are actually carrying Bitcoin on their balance sheet. A lot of companies today are actually carrying Bitcoin on their balance sheet to reduce operating income and their overall tax liability. And I'm wondering if you see that as a corporate financial strategy for your businesses, and just as a business leader, what kind of goes into that strategic decision-making for you?
So, great question. I will tell you that one of the requirements that we had in bringing in a Bitcoin ATM into the D, and one of the requirements we had with regard to accepting Bitcoin at our steakhouse, our hotel, and things like that, was the Gaming Control Board made it a requirement that we monetize all the Bitcoin we've collected into U.S. dollars on a nightly basis. So I got to think now. Time goes by. It might have been. It was the company that used to advertise in the foot. Like, is it CoinCloud or I'm not.
Coinbase.
Coinbase, I forget who we had the initial contract with, but we had a contract with them. And then all of the Bitcoin that we collected, we had a window of time where the control board allowed us to have some collection variance, but it had to be less than a 24-hour period. So if someone checked out at 2 p.m. and it was, whatever the price was at that moment when they checked out, at I believe I think at 1 in the morning, we had to monetize into U.S. dollars, and that was the requirement because we were the first ones in place. That's still the case for us. So for our companies to maintain our gaming license, we do not have the ability to hold Bitcoin on our balance sheet at this point. So that's kind of how it evolved for us, and that's kind of where we're at.
Whoa. So I got one quick question. Has any of your employees requested to be paid in Bitcoin?
We've not had that, but I will tell you, we have a lot of employees that love the Bitcoin ATM, particularly our tipped employees that developed an investment strategy that they would take, one night's worth of tips. And I would see this line, at about, let's say, you get off at 2 in the morning, between like 2:30 in the morning and 3 o'clock, a line of our bartenders and our waitresses and things like that at the Bitcoin ATM that were depositing pretty regularly. Usually they would take one night a week or something like that, and have done very, very well on utilizing that strategy over the years. And obviously in the course of the last 10 weeks, people are even more exuberant about that.
Well,
I always thought bringing in the Bitcoin ATM, one of my things that I was always most worried about was how frequently would we have to refill the Bitcoin ATM. I definitely misjudged bringing the Bitcoin ATM in as much as I don't know that we ever had to refill the Bitcoin ATM with cash, because deposits always greatly exceeded withdrawals, and I really didn't believe that to have been the case early on, but that was the case for many years.
Wow, that's a great way to end it, guys. Round of applause for Derek. If he has some time.